Ethereum moving to proof of stake is probably one of the biggest moments in crypto history up to this point. And as I'm recording this video, it is just a few hours away from happening. And I'm here to talk about why I think that proof of stake really is the consensus model that is going to drive blockchain forward in the future, that's going to be the future of cryptocurrencies, and why I really believe in that. Now, obviously when things all got started back in the day with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin still uses proof of work consensus right now, it was a really revolutionary idea that we had come up with, but there were really some key drawbacks to the proof of work consensus. And last year, and even in the year before, back in 2021 and 2020, we saw a lot of new people, a huge influx of brand new people coming into the space. There was a huge amount of media attention which came onto the blockchain space and the Web3 space, but there was one key issue which really held people back from diving into it. And that was that it's just so inefficient. And the more that people use it, the less efficient, that it really gets as well. And this unbelievable level of energy consumption was a huge barrier to entry for a lot of people, especially people who are really concerned about the environment, concerned about things like climate change. Now, whether or not you think that these concerns about the energy consumption of blockchain are valid, the reality still remains that the space copped a lot of criticism, and a lot of people that might have otherwise joined the space didn't, because of those concerns. Now, proof of stake is something which really alleviates that huge energy consumption. It's way more energy efficient as a consensus model. And so, by adopting proof of stake, as Ethereum is right now, as Oxen has in the past, we can reduce the energy consumption required, to secure the blockchain, to verify transactions, all of these tasks that are required by a huge amount, 99+%, which is a really big deal. And I think that next time when people come back to the space, when there's maybe another hype cycle that comes along in a year's time or whenever it happens, we're going to see people flock to those proof of stake consensus blockchains. And now that we see, the second biggest chain in existence using proof of stake, there's a much bigger argument to be had that, hey, no, the space isn't, just absolutely wasting or using just huge amounts of electricity. Actually, some of the biggest and most used chains are using this new consensus model that really tries to alleviate those concerns. And I think that that is a really huge and important thing. And in fact, the majority of layer ones are actually using proof of stake or some similar consensus model as opposed to proof of work. Now, there are a lot of arguments to be had around whether a proof of stake system leads to a more centralized system. And I think that that is a valid argument to be had. And I think when you think about it purely in theory, this is absolutely the case. But the issue, of course, being when we see proof of work play out in the real world, what we see is mining pools. And what we see is real world limitations around things like being able, or hardware requirements, being able to buy mining rigs, are going to actually lead to the hash power being relatively centralized anyway. And if you actually look at it, we'll chuck some information in the description or maybe up here. When you actually look at it, the argument around whether it is more or less centralized is actually a lot muddier than it might seem at first glance. So really, I think another huge advantage of proof of stake is you can have those more reliable transaction times. With Oxen, we have our Pulse implementation, which means that on the dot, every 2 minutes, you're seeing those transactions confirmed, which is a really big deal. And once again, for the average person coming into the space, knowing when things are going to happen, having them be more reliable, more scalable, is a huge deal. And if we want that mainstream adoption, I think that proof of stake is really the way to go. So it's a really exciting day for someone like me who is a fan of proof of stake consensus. I'm really excited to see what the merge brings and all of the new things that are going to be possible in the future, like sharding in the case of Ethereum. So, what do you think? Are you a huge fan of proof of work, or are you similar to me and excited about the future of proof of stake and what it can do for blockchain going forward? Let us know down in the comments. Thanks for watching.